All right, we're good. We're on.
I will repeat myself. So I went ahead and I brought our city council meeting to order to this August 10th, 2026. We just did the pledge of allegiance. I'm not gonna make everybody do it again. So we'll go ahead and move forward to the roll call. Councilor Ray. Present. Councilor Williams.
Here.
Councilor Cuthbertson.
Here.
Thank you. Councilor Myers. Here. Okay, I know Councilor Felty is gonna either be late or altogether he may not be able to make it tonight, so that's where he's at. And Councilor Evans, I don't know, she may be running late. So we're gonna go ahead and dive in. The first item on the agenda is a budget discussion. I didn't know, TJ, do we have anything in the packet that we should look at when we're having that discussion?
No, I wanted to just have a discussion with council for right now and give you an update on what we'll be doing tonight. And
Okay.
then what we'll be doing in a couple of meetings from now, a couple of months from now. So a few things to note. One is we'll be correcting a few clerical errors that came about as we were rapidly adjusting the budget for the capital expenditures that were added at the second to last meeting. There were some things that I need to correct in order to make sure that the accounts balance. That's a simple clerical correction. And what I was going to do was combine that tonight with a second action that I've decided to postpone for at least a month or two, and that would be a supplemental budget. There are a couple of things that we're going to need to fund for. One of those being some additional capital set aside for the Cassell software for accounting. And another item being potentially more or possibly less money for the generator that will be going into the water plant. And if we do need to address other things as well, for example, staffing, we've increased one of our staff members to 40 hours a week from 32. That would be Jake. Eliminated the part-time position that George had, as well as combined the position at the front desk into a full-time position with benefits for one person rather than two. What we'd like to do is bring those together to council in a couple of months from now, once we know what those capital costs are going to be. So we only have to do one adjustment to the budget. My fear was that if I brought forward a supplemental budget this evening alongside just some clerical corrections, that we might get it wrong. There might be more certainty that comes over the next couple of months with the software implementation and the capital costs. So tonight, what we need to do is to just make sure that we're balancing the accounts. There's some minor clerical errors, corrections to make. But then in a couple of months from now, once we do have that certainty, we're going to go ahead and move forward with a supplemental budget that ties together all of those things. So that would be the FTE changes, software changes, as well as capital expenditures for the generator. Any questions on that, or why we're putting this forward as separate proposals or separate implementations? Oh, Don, I'm so sorry. You're muted on your end. Sorry, we didn't hear anything you guys said.
Ah, oh, awesome. I didn't have any questions. I don't know if the rest of council sounds like Councilor Ray and Councilor questions. Myers, I was about to ask if Councilor Williams or Councilor Cuthbertson had any questions. I'll take that as a no.
No questions here.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. So, like I said, tonight is a really easy, straightforward correction. And then in a couple of months from now, we'll go into a little more detail with a supplemental budget once we do have that certainty on the costs that we know are going to increase, but we just don't know exactly how much for all of them yet.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Dawn, did you want to add anything to that? I'm pretty tired right now, so I feel like I could be missing something. Is there anything I missed there?
Not that I can think of. I think those are the main pieces was staffing and then the Excel software piece. I can't think of anything else right offhand, no.
Thank you. Awesome. All right, Mayor Sheets, that's all I had for that agenda item.
Okay, very good. If we're ready to move on, we've got resolution 2026-10. It is in the packet that we have. This is a resolution, I think this is a resolution that we were talking about to you, Barry.
Yes, it is.
Technical corrections, yes.
Yeah.
So I'll go through this for the benefit of council and the public, and then provide answers to any questions that there may be. So this is a resolution providing technical and clerical corrections to the fiscal year 26-27 adopted budget. Following adoption of fiscal year 26-27 budget, city staff identified technical, clerical, and reconciliation discrepancies within the adopted budget schedules that do require some correction to ensure consistency between resources, expenditures, and interfund transfers. Primarily, this is regarding interfund transfers. The corrections provided by this resolution do not establish any new programs or increase appropriations, but reduce or reconcile those amounts contained within the adopted budget. And so here are the sections for the resolution. Section 1-403, the Water Reserve Fund. The transfer into Fund 403, which is line 4 in the budget, is reduced to $12,000 to correspond with the approved transfer out from Fund 601, which was the Water Fund. The reserve for future expenditures is reduced to $19,101. This is directly related to the adjustments that we made in Fund 601 to account for the water, the cameras at the water treatment plant, as well as the generator that we worked into the budget. So essentially, we're reducing future expenditures reserves, as well as reducing the 12,000. Fund 601 showed 12,000, but we never reduced it in this fund correspondingly. We only reduced it in 601. So we need to make sure that that 12,000 shows on both pages. So that's what we're doing here. We're bringing Fund 403 to 12,000 for the transfers in. Originally, it was set at 70,000, and that was reduced to allow for some of those capital expenditures. Section 2, 407, the generator expense within 407 is reduced to 75,000 from 80,000. And that again was to allow for some of the additional capital expenditures that we accounted for. And the reserve for future expenditures line is reduced to $461 to account again for the additional funds that we allocated during that last budget meeting. Public Works Fund, there was a $30 discrepancy in that fund. So what we've done is appropriations reflected on the Fund 201 LB30 expenditures are reduced by $30 for locates to reconcile total appropriations with available resources. So again, just making sure that both sides of the equation balance to zero on both sides. The effect of the corrections is the corrections authorized by this resolution are technical and clerical in nature and do not increase appropriations within any city fund. Except as expressly corrected herein, the fiscal year 26-27 budget adopted by resolution 2026-09 remains unchanged and in full effect and force. And this resolution would take effect upon adoption. So we're just making, again, 3 changes to the funds where there were already changes made in Fund 601, but they weren't correspondingly reduced in Funds 403 and 407. So those needed to be brought down to the actual funds that were shown in those original transfers from the beginning. Any questions on that, what we're doing there?
Nope. Nope. It's pretty straightforward. Okay. Counselors on teams, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right, sounds like we're good.
And again, I just want to say my apologies for that error. We moved pretty fast and quick to try to reconcile that budget when we did fit in a couple of those additional expenditures, primarily the cameras at both locations, and there was one other item I'm forgetting right now. I think it was a generator and something else.
Yeah, and the second set of eyes were going across at that point, so his second set of eyes also failed him.
But you know, this was something that, yeah, Don, I want to thank you for catching these too, because by the time budget was over, I think we both were just ready to throw in the towel, and it was your eagle eyes that caught these. And so I want to thank staff as well as council for your understanding and appreciation on that. That is all. That's literally all there is to that resolution. If there is not any further discussion, Mayor Sheets, I don't know if you would like to call for the motion.
Yeah, I will entertain a motion on resolution 2026-10. This is a resolution providing technical and clerical corrections to resolution number 2026-09, adopting the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adopt City of Monroe Resolution number 2026-10, a resolution providing technical and clerical corrections to the fiscal year 2026-2027 adopted budget.
First and a second. Any additional questions, comments before we vote? Sound like we have anything, any questions in the room? Any questions on teams before we vote?
All good for me.
None for me.
Okay, we're gonna vote then. All right, Councilor Ray. Yes. Councilor Evans. Councilor Meyer.
Yes.
Councilor Williams.
Yes.
Councilor Cuthbertson.
Yes.
There you go. Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay, so we're moving on now to the next agenda item, which is resolution 2026-11. This is a resolution imposing and categorizing taxes for fiscal year 2026-2027.
Thank you, sir. So this is similar. This is something that we have to process in order to get our taxes levied by the county. There was a single bit of verbiage that was not included in the resolution, and the county called our attention to it. So what we're doing here is making sure we just add this, essentially this paragraph that's below here, to be sure that they have the appropriate authorization from city council to move forward with that. So this is a resolution imposing and categorizing taxes for fiscal year 26-27, where Oregon law requires the city council to impose and categorize its property taxes by resolution in order for the county assessor to certify the city's tax levy. Section 1, and it really is just one section of this. The City Council of the City of Monroe hereby levies taxes provided for in the adopted budget in the aggregate amount of 3.5566 mil, that's the mill rate, for the tax year 2026-27, upon the assessed value of all taxable property within the city for the bond indebtedness of $152,880. This is the piece right here that was not included in our original resolution that the county stated needed to be included, where we actually specify what is excluded from that limitation. So it was really just this piece right here that we're adding in to ensure the county can move forward with levying those taxes. So the general fund, again, the 3.5566 millage rate, and then the debt service, the general obligation bond with 152,880 excluded from limitation. They notified us of this right after we sent them over the approved budget, and they said, "Oh, it looks like you missed this," and we've actually missed it in prior years too. Ironically enough, the day I started, we processed this exact same resolution. So I wasn't quite aware enough of what was happening at that time or actually that was the week I started. I wasn't quite aware enough of what happened at that time and what we were doing to recall that issue from prior year to this year. You can believe that I'll remember it next year. And this resolution is effective upon adoption. Dawn, did you want to add anything to this? I know that or any thoughts about last year, this year, anything about what the county had to say, anything at all?
No, they're very easy to work with. They kind of let us know and we took care of it. No big deal. But I think next year, especially with the use of Trello, we're probably going to catch this. We will catch this.
We have it
For the
noted.
first resolution.
Yeah, it's in our Trello workflow at this point. And again, I hadn't implemented Trello at that time. That literally was my very first day on the job, July 14th. And so we actually did that a couple weeks after the last budget last year as well. The county, like Dawn said, is super easy to work with and was very cool about this. But we'll get this to them first thing tomorrow morning, providing council approves this resolution, and then we'll be good to go with our tax levy.
Quick note on that as well. Councilors Cuthbertson and Williams, if we wouldn't mind dropping by at some point tomorrow morning. I'm usually there at 8. I don't know if that's a better time for you or not, but I do need to have it fully signed before I send it over to TJ so we can get it finalized.
I'm in Ohio until
Oh,
Thursday.
well
We can send it for a digital signature. We have
Yeah.
Adobe. No problem at
Okay.
all.
I'll sign right away.
Okay. And Councilor Cuthbertson, are you available to come in tomorrow?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. This one was also, like I said, pretty short and sweet. Just the one page. Sir, that's all we have for the resolution before the motion.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion on resolution number 2026-11. This is a resolution imposing and categorizing taxes fiscal year 2026-2027. I'll fight for it at the same time.
I'd like to make a motion on resolution number 2026-11, a resolution imposing and categorizing taxes for fiscal year 2026-2027.
We have a first and a second. Any comments or questions before we vote? I think we do, but we'll double check. Make sure. Are we good online to go ahead and vote?
Ready to vote?
Okay. Councilor Ray. Yes. Councilor Evans. Councilor Myers.
Yes.
Councilor Williams.
Yes.
Councilor Cuthbertson.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Excellent. And we will get both of these out to you, Councilor Williams, for a digital signature, and Councilor Cuthbertson, those will just be ready when you're ready to come on in tomorrow.
We
Thank
may need
you.
to have Councilor Felty as well. It might need to go digital for him too.
well, if he's not
He-
sure.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
not present.
Well, that's true.
I
That's
understand.
correct. Yes. You're correct. So then we don't have to worry about that. So there.
You just put an A on
Not present. All right. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the Longtime Watershed Council, Council's Park Event Act. And that is also in our packet. We've discussed this already, and we're coming back for our next pass here. TJ, I think this is just a final look. I'm addressing any questions, additional questions, I guess.
Yes, we have, so first we have the application and the merits of the application itself. And then secondly, what we'll discuss tonight is we'll be setting a precedent this evening, either delegating some authority to the Parks and Beautification Committee, or retaining full approval authority through the city council. So what I wanted to do, and I will continue to do this with all applications that involve the parks, is to bring this before the Parks Committee for at minimum comment, so that when it makes its way to council, there has already been a discussion and a recommendation on whether a specific application should be approved. The question is whether the city council is comfortable with the Parks Committee authorizing the city administrator to move forward with an application administratively, or if the city council would prefer to retain the authority for all event approvals involving the city park. So that's what I wanted to bring up to council to begin with. And we can actually come back to that precedent in a few minutes. I wanted to plant the seed. Let you guys think about that for a few minutes while we talk about the merits of the application itself. So what we have here is what Longtime Watershed Council refers to as their paddle and pole event. They have some invasive species that grow somewhat extensively throughout the Longtime River. They're going to be going from the where the water intake is down to, remind me where they're going to, folks. I know Councilor Cuthbertson, the mayor, was there. Where is it?
Electrical lines just south of the ODOT bridge, highway bridge.
Thank you. So they won't be getting out of their boats. That was one question that was asked by the Parks Committee. There won't be any crazy, sporting activities or anything like that. They're literally going to be pulling some weeds out of the water and bringing them into the boat with them, and then disposing of them when they get onto shore. They have a maximum of 18 individuals who can sign up. So this is truly a small event. And there won't be any food or alcohol or anything like that served as part of this event. It's going to be held on September 1st, and they're doing that for 3 hours from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Question, DJ.
Yeah,
The application I see says will food or alcohol be served? So it doesn't, the form doesn't really specify between alcoholic and non-alcoholic. They do say that they have snacks and non-alcoholic beverages. But if you look at the form, it still requires an OLCC license, possibly.
may be required. So if there's going to be alcohol that requires an OLCC license, one thing we could do, Councilor Myers, if we actually wanted to improve upon this form slightly, is separate food from alcohol. That's one thing that we could do there to make that certain.
Yeah, I think that would be good. I mean, we don't need to do it for this one because we're discussing it, but, and the only reason I'm asking this is because if you've got people on paddle boards and they've been drinking, you're already breaking the law. So.
Yeah.
Well, they're gonna be in canoes.
Yeah, they'll be in canoes.
It's still on the water.
Yeah, it's watercraft.
You're absolutely
They
right.
did said that they were gonna offer snacks and maybe like, they were throwing around the idea of possibly pizza at the end, but no alcohol.
I mean, I don't even mind if they had alcohol, if it was after everybody got off the water.
Right, but
Right,
no
sure.
alcohol.
Yeah,
No alcohol in the park without
Water.
licensing and permitting, and that would be a much more complex ask
Yeah.
for.
so
for
I'm
this
just thinking if
application.
we separate that, it make it easier for us to manage.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And as I was mentioning, what I meant by food is, they won't be preparing any food. They don't need a license from the county, a permit from the county to serve anything. They're just gonna have some packaged snacks, and like sodas and waters for when they get out of the boats. So nothing really intense there. They are gonna bring garbage bags and pack out the snack garbage. So if there's like a pack of crackers or something, obviously they don't want to leave that on the ground. Um, and then again, no goods or services sold, so no business license is required. No porta potties. No sound or amplification of any kind. Counselor Cuthbertson or anybody else on the committee, what were some of the concerns that had come up that you think you'd like to raise during this meeting?
Well, I know just, I don't know if I mentioned this when we were meeting in the Parks Committee or not. I don't see mention here, and maybe I'm just blind, which is entirely possible. Any mention of insurance, liability insurance? I don't see it here. I don't know if we're just making an assumption or usually, I've been involved in events for a while around here. Usually I would have some type of
Yeah,
liability insurance.
we do. And then there's another issue is, you're gonna have people on the water. Again, getting back to my safety. We don't know if they're gonna have black jackets. They should have those.
So that was my first.
And also they should have a rescue plan.
Right, because you don't, they didn't say anything about having an experienced person with the beach up.
They should have a lifeguard, at least one lifeguard available.
Right, when we did, doing the scouts, we always had one experienced person in the beach.
Yeah. But the girls
And like
need
that.
all wear life
I
jackets.
got a question here.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead.
So I understand the premise of the park use application, special event. And let's just say I have 5 friends that go park at the park, they use the restroom, or decide to take kayaks out on the water. I don't need this.
No, yeah,
I thought this was more revolved around if people were more wanting to use the park facilities, the picnic tables, baseball diamonds, if they're gonna have a, frisbee golf thing or something like that. I didn't realize we were gonna be like, okay, we got a group of, these people have decided to go out in the water and pull some weeds. Are we getting too far in the weeds on this?
You're absolutely right.
I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
they're not using like the facilities. They went through the process, which was very kind of them, but I think we're kind of starting to get out of the realm of things.
well, and to that point, if we're not gonna ask these safety questions and all that other stuff, why are we even doing it? Like,
Is it because it's classified as an event, TJ? Is that the, I know that
So-
I think you're talking more of the rental application maybe for the park.
Yeah, so what we have here is, this is and I don't have this, the second half of the page. Yeah, okay. So 40 or less participants, it essentially is an organized event. Counselor Ray, you're absolutely right. If you wanted to get some friends together and just go do it, you could do it. But I think what they're trying to do is be a good partner to the city and say, hey, we do this every year. We do want to use the bathrooms. They're not going to be occupying any of the baseball diamond or really utilizing the park. So it's not like the park is closed off or unusable during this event. So you're absolutely right that this is one of those situations that doesn't quite fall into event, but where it does land, and I think the question Mayor Sheets asked was one of the ones that I wanted to be able to bring to council make sure you were aware of this, and then get your blessing for this event. Is, you know, they do have a liability waiver process. So they don't have a requirement. There isn't anybody that's gonna sell them insurance for this because they're not charging for a fee. It's all volunteers coming to volunteer their time to clean out essentially, you know, weeds in the water. And I think that liability question was one of the ones that I thought was worth bringing to council, and also getting a feel for a couple of things. Number one, do you need to see this application annually, or are you good with them moving forward with this for good in perpetuity without a permit, or without rather an application? That was the first question. And the second question kind of comes back to whether Parks Committee should be the entity that has the authority to say yes, or whether you'd prefer that they bring a recommendation to you. Again, we can get to that second piece in a minute. But Councilor Ray, does that answer your question? Does that give you a little more thought on why we
Yeah.
wanted to bring this in front of you?
Yeah, and then the other, just to stem off the part of your other thing, whether this needs to actually come to council or state of parks. My only view on that is, like in this situation, I wouldn't think it really need to come to council, but like for, when they did the bike ride where there was some traffic control things and, you know, we needed to know a little bit more which the route and things like, maybe something more like that might need to come to council or still one, or like your big baseball games, things like that. But as for something this small, I would think so.
Well, like, if you have 18 people there and they all have their own kayak canoe, you could have the parking lot pretty close. But if we're forcing an application for a volunteer group get together, then we're kind of bringing on liability on themselves, don't we?
It's not a good voluntarian.
Yeah.
I mean, you got caution on both sides of that area.
Yeah.
Where they want to put in.
Right, which is near the intake, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
If I go to an application, we're now getting involved in it, like I said, if I had 5, 10 friends that just decided to go on the water on their own, so I'm completely different fault. And I understand, yes, they're doing, being, you know, good neighbors and wanting to go through this process and everything.
Now that we have the form and we've updated it, I thought it would behoove me to bring this to council for the discussion. And again, first I brought it to Parks Committee. Parks actually had a good amount of you know, questions and dialogue with the applicant who was present that day. So I'd love some guidance from council on how you'd like to see something like this handled.
We're not charging a fee, correct?
That is correct. We don't charge a fee for any of our applications for the events.
Charge them for those issues, like, for the park.
I think in moving forward, I just have a few thoughts around this. I think I would like to have this go through the parks and have them make a recommendation in this specific circumstance, because there's going to be so many whatever kayaks or paddle boards on our water, and our water intake is right there. I would like to be aware, serving on city council, but I don't necessarily need to make the recommendation. I think that should be up to the Parks Committee. They can make a recommendation to city council for awareness type of purposes. That's how I'd like to move forward.
Agreed.
So who approves a permit like this, then would it be just
Parks or the city administrator?
the city administrator upon recommendation of the
Yeah.
Parks Committee?
Administrative decision.
I mean,
At least
Correct.
on the Parks to not make a decision.
well, they can make a recommendation. I don't think we can actually authorize most of our committees' decision.
We don't.
So we don't,
This is coming up. There's no time for Parks to gather.
right. But I think if we give our administrator the power to handle these, and if he has questions, then he can bring it to us.
So liability issues.
Well, that's the
Who
whole
does
thing.
it fall on? The city in general?
Since we have a permit, it would make, I could see the lawyer pushing it. I'm saying it's right. They say, we're asking for a permit. Okay. We're charging safety of all those people.
So they actually giving them a permit after this application, or you just have this application?
It's just as that.
I think it's just not the same as your action.
This isn't a permit.
It's not a permit.
It's just this application.
So just that.
So I guess they look out.
Which is actually saying that. Very. The one for access to.
I mean, I can see for larger events where we've got to coordinate with public works and, other, folks in the community to make the event happen. This seems like a fairly minor.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, but if it's water safety issues and we don't know what over they have, like jackets, like garden, should we have someone from the fire department, here's the about their mesh?
She said that they, when they get the vote or before they put on life jackets. She says that.
It says right here.
on this,
It's a very small print. The first.
Yes, it is.
We
Very.
will make sure all participants.
Approved, approved.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like I said, the only thing that is lacking for me is the rescue plan.
Yeah.
It's like, do we rely on the fire department to bring down a boat to go get them? Or
We don't have a vote.
they don't even have a
Yeah,
dinghy
the
anymore?
sheriff's department.
So, yeah, so they're,
I
There's
mean,
nowhere to launch a boat, you prevent
Yeah.
that.
that here. I mean,
12-foot limits.
So, yeah, you can get past the dam, so.
true.
Yeah, they got big boats.
So they're going such a short distance to,
Well,
I mean, I still in the water.
the hydrodynamics of the dam.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that I'm concerned about.
I assume that would have been discussed with parks.
I assume, but we don't have a minutes of it.
We didn't talk about safety about that.
So I know that they'll be doing, like I said, the liability waivers. The thing that makes this kind of an event is that they'll be advertising it. So they'll be getting it up on social media. Folks will hear about it. So that was one of the other reasons that this kind of fell under the number one special event. So use of the city property for an event, like the city park. One of the reasons that I brought it before you. In terms of safety, I do know that this is something that they've done in the past as well. And we'd like to continue to do. But now that we have this application in place, they just went ahead and followed along with the rules. If they weren't advertising and they weren't doing it as a sanctioned event, it would be completely indistinguishable from 6 people getting canoes and going down the river together. But that really is the differentiator here. My interpretation on the way that this probably could be handled best, and this is how I brought it to Parks Committee, because we don't have a written policy on this, is that I think an event of this size, empowering the city administrator to make that determination following a recommendation from Parks Committee sounds like an appropriate measure for smaller events like these 40 or less events that don't have any additional moving parts like alcohol or food or noise or any of that kind of stuff. Obviously, if we have the larger events or alcohol or food is served, that of course needs to come before city council, but I'd still like to have the Parks Committee review it if it does involve the use of a park. That was my recommendation to the Parks Committee, and I really want to credit Chair Cuthbertson from the committee on this because her feeling was very strong that we need to have council direct the committee as well as the administrator on the best approach moving forward now that we do have this application in place.
Because of president, historically, we'll just go with that word. Historically, the councils have heard it. It's always gone in front of council. So they
Yep.
and the rest of us did not feel it was appropriate for us to just take it on ourselves and it was just we should take it to council and then decide whether council can, everything should always go to council or is some things to.
No, I think what TJ has stated, I don't think we need to see every little.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
It strikes me by listening to this conversation, this is really not about a permit or permission to do this. This is kind of like a registration. Hey, we're gonna be there. Are there any conflicts?
Yeah.
And it strikes me that it's important to know that 18 people are gonna be there. But only if maybe somebody would come along with 50 people and say, oh, we're gonna have a big blowout and we wanna rent the whole park. Then
Right.
you need to at least be aware of that. And I think that that's stuff. I think that it needs to go through some sort of central thing. And parks would be good for that, to just say, yeah, this weekend is already taken. No, you can't. You just need to be aware of that. If you want to bring 18 more people, there's something else going on. Or however that works.
Well, mainly the big parts administration may see that there's a reservation already at the park. And oh, we've got this going on too. It may just, it could just
Well,
sit with the city administrator at that point.
you know, I can't see these guys using them at the ballpark, and so somebody could come in and want to use a ballpark at the same time.
Right.
The only issue I have with that is we don't have a lot of parking, and we don't have a lot of, transport over here until we get that bridge.
Yeah, that's right.
So I mean, it's nice to be there, it's just come out there yet.
Oh,
But I do agree that, you know, having some kind of registration that is going on is good.
yeah, knowing what's going on.
As long as we keep the word permit off of here, I think maybe you're okay. I could worry a little bit less, because if we put permit on it, then we're kind of taking some responsibility, whatever we're doing. So I'm okay with the small ones going through the city ad. But we don't need to see every little one.
I'd say if alcohol was involved,
Yes,
then you guys need to see where that,
right.
Agreed.
that's a key thing.
Alcohol over 40 people.
Yep. That's exactly where I drew the line to alcohol, food, and 40 people.
Food vendors, they're talking about food for sale type of thing. Yeah, anything that's being retailed there should come through us. But this is kind of like a bunch of people getting together for a picnic.
We make a resolution, I guess, so it doesn't come up later. Like, oh, I remember it.
I don't know, but TJ, do you need us to make a?
So what this would be is what I would do is I would draft the policy. This goes on our policies and procedures for at the administrative level, which guides myself and future administrators and staff on what the threshold is. When does an event need to come to city council? And when can it live with the city administrator? My preference, my strong recommendation is that every event, no matter how small it is, still gets some time with the Parks Committee if they're going to be using public space. And I think that makes a lot of sense because there's somebody asking the appropriate questions. But again, that too is for council to determine. You could tell me tonight that, hey, you know, this really didn't need to go to Parks Committee. You could have just approved this administratively. But I think that it's important for some governmental body, even a committee, to at least be aware of it. If somebody's going to be advertising it on Facebook and making it it's truly open to the public, even though there's only 18 seats, they're trying to fill those seats. That to me was what brought it into a decision that needed to be made.
I do have a quick question on this because I'm looking at, it says for 40 or less participants, it's 7 days before the event. Would that allow enough time for it to go before eyes of Park Committee and or council? Or should that
Yes.
be corrected?
So that is for me, I think bringing it before the Parks Committee makes a lot of sense because that it gives us that amount of time. If this was an administrative approval, we could make that work. Most people are getting their applications in well before 7 days. That's really just the minimum number of days. And again, we may tell them that we need more time than that. Because it says at least 7 days. And it doesn't say that we're going to approve it after exactly 7 days. It just says that you have to have your application in. But again, this is something that we're setting policy around. So to me, if it's an administrative approval with a committee discussion, I think that's appropriate.
So it should have something to mention about alcohol
No, I agree.
Yeah, yeah,
in the provision.
that would be one of the trigger points, so,
Yeah.
That'd be a big trigger point.
yeah,
Alcohol and vendors.
alcohol vendors and we'll have to figure out what size, 40, 50, whatever. The other thing is, do these things get posted on our website?
The events themselves.
No,
The filled out one?
Oh, the actual app.
Is
the
there a
completed
reason why-
application in the event does not. Like a blank form is available on the website, but if they're approved or if the event exists, it doesn't like get posted on the website or anything, except for if somebody reserves the park, then it shows up as a reservation, but that's not what this one is doing.
You know, at any swimming pool, they have a rank for my rope. You might make that a requirement, that it's available. The river's is not that wide right there, but if somebody happens to start,
Actually, you know what, I'm thinking that might be a requirement for some of the facilities that are the maintenance guys. I know out at the, when I worked out, no, we had pro rings all the way in the ponds.
Yeah,
Because you didn't want to go in there to get them out,
no.
so. That's something that might be,
our firemen aren't allowed to go in.
no. And a lot of people drown that are going in. So,
Yeah, I think because we don't have a boat ramp, they're gonna be getting into the river by the water intake. That was one of the other things that came up for me, and then of course the drowning risk. But they do have the life jackets and there is the liability waivers that they have folks sign.
Are they keeping the liability waivers with them, or do we get copies?
No, we're not the host. They keep those with them because at the end of the day, they're the ones who own the liability.
Okay.
They're the ones inviting people down to a public space. Even though we're authorizing the use of the park, we're not sanctioning or supporting or providing any type of authorization for the event itself. We're just saying, yes, you can use the city park. So all the liability and the waivers themselves will stay with Longtom Watershed Council.
Well, do we have any legal jurisdiction over once they're on the water anyway?
No, we don't. And they really could have probably just done this anyway without asking our permission. And there isn't a whole lot that a city could do about that. But you know, you're right. Once they're on the water, that becomes state, level authority.
Yep.
Okay, well, it seems like PJ will be drafting up a policy and we taking a look at it at some point here in the future.
I'll bring that before council. What I think I'm hearing is if it's the first category, under 40 people, no alcohol and no food permit, then it can be an administrative decision with conversation from the Parks Committee. Did I capture that right?
That's my feeling.
Yep. That's correct, yes.
I'll bring that before council for an upcoming meeting.
Okay.
And for this one here, since we are here in front of council and you're setting that precedent, rather than kicking it back to Parks Committee, I want to recommend that perhaps council provide that authorization on this application this evening so that we can tell the applicant that they can start advertising. They're waiting to do that until they have authorization from the city.
So do you need a motion from us that that gives you the authorization to do this?
Yes, exactly right.
I'll make a motion that we allow the city administrator to follow through with authorization of this special event park use application.
Second.
Great, thank you. Any other comments or questions? I think we commented and questioned it already. but- Okay, are we ready to vote? This includes the folks on Teams too. Are you ready to vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Counselor Ray.
Yes.
Counselor Evans.
Yes.
Counselor Myers.
Yes.
Counselor Williams.
Yes.
Counselor Cuthbertson.
Yes.
Right, there you go, TJ.
Right, thank you.
All right. We're gonna move on to the next agenda item, which is contract review, the IGA with Benton County Sheriff's Office, and that is in our topic.
All right, so council had wanted to see the city of Adair Village, and we talked about this previously. You had asked you had asked that staff bring forward just a little more information on this. So what we have here is what we had looked at before, what Adair Village is essentially paying to the Benton County Sheriff's Office. The contract services itself for the 25-26 year was 50,948. Here's our resolution 2025-20 with the city of Monroe. And we had looked at this previously as well. And this was passed in April of 2025. And this was executed as an intergovernmental agreement for 2 full years. We had gone over this previously. We're bringing this back before council for just a little bit of additional discussion. $46,548 is what we pay to the county. I think one of the differences that we had discussed before was the population differences and whether or not the hours that were being used are actually patrol hours or just hours in essentially sitting in a car doing other work at the sheriff's station. We did request, I don't know if we've added it to the packet here. Oh, darn it. Didn't include the actual contract from
I just
Adair.
thought about that too.
No, it's okay. We both we were like moving a mile a minute. But the reality is that they actually have the exact same contract. It's essentially the same verbiage. And the patrolled hours that's shown in their budget up here.
10 hours a week, I think.
Directed patrol, 10 hours per week of directed patrol. That's a little bit different than the verbiage that we saw actually in the contract itself. And so I wanted to know if there were additional questions that the council would like answers to, either from the county or from Adair Village. As I said, the Adair Village contract is virtually identical in the language to the one that Monroe has. But the questions that remain, I think, are what Councilor Cuthbertson, if I'm not mistaken, had brought up, is that they're supposed to be, as we understand, a certain number of hours already. In addition to that, should potentially be the 10.5 hours per week. That's one question. And then the second question being the patrolled hours versus all encompassing hours. And then if there's any discussion that should be had about the difference in population and the costs associated with that. But I don't know if council would like to hear anything more before working with the county, especially as we're going through the process of dissolving the court. What do you all want to know more about in order to get to that conversation.
Well, in the services part, section 2, county agrees to provide, and this is just a part of the sentence, shall maintain a log of all hours of services to the city. I believe other counselors in the past have asked for a detailed log. If we can get detail added to that log, that might be a little bit more satisfying. As far as directed patrol, that's, their services are more than just patrolling around in the car. So I don't know how you can really rectify that part, but that's just my feeling. If we can get a detailed log instead of just a, well, I spent 2 hours at the substation,
Yeah,
writing reports,
yeah, that would be nice.
because I can know what report.
Right,
Yeah, so I want to see detail.
the reports that pertain to the city,
Yeah,
or was it reports from Timbuktu in the county that had no bearing on our city, but we're getting billed for it? Also, when they say, oh,
it's supposed to be
no activity.
services.
Well, great, no activity, we're getting billed for no activity, what were you doing that there was no activity? Were you actually, or were you just like, were you in your car playing on your phone? I mean, I understand sometimes there's just nothing going on, but
Yeah.
tell us what you were doing
Yeah.
during that
What
time
observing,
frame.
yeah, where were you observing no activity?
Right. we
Yeah,
tried-
More detail, yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't micromanage people, you know.
You can't micromanage it, but
Most of them put down detail.
it says,
There's 2 or 3 that just keep putting. No,
Those three, you could,
it's
that
supposed
was
to be
my point.
service to the city. Doesn't mean service in the city, but services to the city. Meaning, like, we've seen some of the
city go,
city limits stops at Cemetery Road.
well, to you and me, but maybe not to them.
Yeah, but we've seen where they're writing reports for 2 hours, and we don't know if it's reports for us or something else.
I think we could case them down. Report.
Can't work report.
Being going. That's the other thing is we don't have it updated for that.
Not yet.
This purpose till the end of the year.
Correct. Well, and then we've also, and I'll throw this out too, we have a substation. Adair Village does not have a substation, correct?
That is correct. That was the, thank you, Mayor Sheets. That was the other thing that we discussed last time, is that there's no substation at any of these other locations. And the cost actually does come out to about the same for us in Adair Village, but aside from the population, we're also providing the substation, the water, and the electric, all for
Internet.
free. And the internet, all for free as part of the contract.
What's your question?
Do they have access to the officers club cabinet?
Sorry,
I
I
just have a quick
It's
question
official
about,
city building.
Oh, we got a question on it. Go ahead.
I just have a question about the contract. So is there any way to quantify like the outcome of a stop? So if they're pulling people over and they're giving them a warning, how many warnings is it going to take before they actually issue a ticket? Like, I want to know percentages. I don't just want them to give warnings. I mean, if there's enough cause for them to pull somebody over, I would think that maybe 20% of the time that they do that, they're issuing a citation or something. Is there a way to put verbiage like that in a contract?
Unfortunately, I mean, potentially, yes. We could change the contract so that we allow for that. Currently, our contract states that they do their job the way that they see fit. And so we can't really tell them how to do their job or to impose at this time any additional restrictions. I think part of that was probably more relevant when we had the potential to bring revenue into the city. And of course, that was a very small amount of revenue we're obviously not moving forward with the court for that, so that's a little bit less critical at this time. But I do appreciate what you're saying, because it in some respects it could be helpful to know if they're just letting people off 4 or 5 times in a row. Are they recording that? Are they actually disincentivizing that kind of behavior, rapid speeding? Those are things that I think counselors would like to know. I don't know if that rises to the level of changing the contract so that we start to manage that, though. That would be my only reservation.
No,
Why
and I
do they do that?
appreciate that.
Why do they give out so many warnings? Is it because they just don't want to do the paperwork of the ticket? I mean,
I don't know the answer.
That's-
All I can do is theorize.
Yeah.
And as there's been
I realize that we probably don't have answers to that.
Well, if you have a judge in a county that overturns every single ticket you have, you stop writing tickets. That's just plain fact of human behavior. So we don't know that for a fact. I'm just supposing
But we
that's
have our own judge here.
temporarily.
temporarily.
End of the year.
Yeah, but I mean, historically, we have our own judge.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't matter if there's a judge that overturns all their stuff, then they're less likely to write a ticket because everything that gets turned over, they're saying, well, this guy's doing false arrest or false ticketing because it's all turned over by the judge. So they kind of tend to back off on writing tickets. I'm just saying human behavior, and I've been around a lot of police forces,
Yeah,
so I know that's what some of them feel. However, I'm not saying that's this situation. I'm just saying we don't know what the reason is.
So I've asked this question in the past. On this matter, what determines the time that you actually get to him? So that's where you get in the directive part.
Yeah.
And I think the answer, if I remember correctly, the answer I got past is they just had spare time or something. Which I didn't get into. So that would be my main question. Like, what is, like I said, what is determining the time they actually decide to spend?
Do they have the ability to geofence? And let us know? Aren't all the cars GPS located?
Miss them, for like example, this morning, when I went to work at 4:30, he's sitting in the middle of the parking lot at the school with all his lights on, so you're not gonna miss that. So
So he was preventatively slowing people down?
if they were at 4, if you're going to count at 4:30,
There's a few.
that's me.
There's a couple of motorcycles.
It's more in the evenings when I see people come, when I'm coming home at 125 to town and I have a car just run right up on my tail. Of course, the 45, speed up the dice roll because they're racing to get to 55 and 45. So, but otherwise, like you said over here, Mike, we don't need to be mindful. They're not gonna like it.
There should be a lot of flock cameras we get for sale.
No. Not even gonna go there.
I'm just saying.
We'll discuss that.
what's a vehicle versus pedestrian at 99 in Orchard?
Recently.
All right, well,
A lot of stuff.
but we won't be stuck with it.
So the things I've written down here that I'm hearing, and what we're doing is we're getting ourselves a little bit closer to setting up a meeting with the sheriff and the mayor and I to, number one, tell the county that we have decided to move forward with dissolving the court, and that we will need to amend this contract just to that extent. But at the same time, that conversation, as we discussed before, opens up the opportunity for us to gently ask about some of these other things, like detailed hours in the reporting. more details than just a summary, that is. What hours they're spending, if that's something that we can ask or even make requests about. And then third, I think if council would direct me to do so, which is completely up to you, but we could ask about whether we should make any type of consideration for the use of the substation, the electric power and water in that substation. And again, we're paying around the same amount as Adair Village, but being a smaller community and providing that additional service, does that warrant? And this could be simply a question to them. Do you all think, the county, believe that warrants maybe a second discussion about the compensation of the contract?
I think we need to have that piece of the conversation.
Yeah, we do have, as part of the contract, that we give them the use of the substation, but we don't really specify whether they have to pay rent for it or not.
It's an expense for the city. It has to be compensated for the use of it.
That's what the cost of things these days.
Yes.
You're gonna need those guys when you get this emergency grant for rebuilding, so
Yeah.
don't shoot it in the foot.
Agreed.
It's just a conversation.
That's all I'm gonna do.
All right, well, I think we've got a few things we'll talk with the sheriff in the near future here.
When is the sheriff's last day?
I think it's the 31st of December.
Because it'd be like,
He's elected, so.
yeah, the election is, that figures it up, right?
Even then, you need anything else from us, TJ, or do you have enough?
No, sir, I think I wanted to bring the discussion one more time. I think I have enough for you and I
Okay.
to schedule a meeting with the sheriff's office and just have a discussion.
Very good. All right. Okay. Did we have anything else that, do I hear say, is there anything else that we need to mention that's not on the agenda before we move off and go on our merry way?
We have another council meeting.
Yes.
I don't
I have
think so.
something that comes to comments.
Okay, so wait on that. Hold on. If there's nothing else, we'll just go ahead, we'll move on to council comments.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, Councilor Evans, go ahead.
I had a couple of neighbors approach me in the last few days over chickens in our neighborhood.
You know, live chickens,
Huh?
like live chickens?
Yes. What do we do when somebody's got more chickens than they should and nuisance?
I spoke with the person this morning, actually. TJ, correct me if I'm wrong. I did put in a ordinance of enforcement ticket through Trello, basically for Mark to review regarding this.
We'll look at it.
Because it seems there's more than 6 poultry at the property supposedly. And it is becoming a noise nuisance as well.
I was told it's also becoming a rather smell
Yes.
nuisance in the warm afternoon.
Do
Yeah.
they have a rooster? So I think we have a ordinance against that.
No, they before that got taken care of.
The rooster got taken care of a while back, but there's also been complaints of a rooster that's not in our neighborhood that is believed. And I hear this rooster also in my house with the window shut. I believe the rooster's over by where Captain Smith used to live, up in that area of town. Like 10th and Orchard.
Chief Smith,
Yeah, Chiefs used to live. Somewhere up in that area. But I don't know who has it, but a lot of people have been complaining about it.
Well, I know a lot of my neighbors had chickens and the biggest part wasn't really the chickens, it was the fact that she left the feed out. And we had a rodent infestation and I'm still fighting 5 years later.
So I'm looking at this now, Don. Thank you for logging this complaint.
Yeah,
So now that it is on the city's radar, I have a responsibility to send them a notice, and that simply says, and Don, you did a great job here. You already referenced the ordinance number, so you made it really easy. I think at this point, we'll just send them a letter and tell them that they must stop within 30 days, and that there, of course, is a potential fee associated with that if they don't. I'm looking at the property right now because it is 6 per half acre. And I don't know how large the property is or if it's potentially more than a half an acre. That
it's
would
red
be.
hills, I guarantee it's not.
I can
Nope.
say it's not.
Nope, you're right. It's under a half an acre. So, yeah, so it looks like according to the complaint that was recorded, they have about 8 chickens, probably at least, terrible smell. So we'll absolutely we'll absolutely send a notice letting them know that they need to reduce that down to the ordinance level.
Yeah, there were a couple of different neighbors that came to me.
I think a big piece of it too was the noise piece, right? Because the one neighbor that had reported it works from home, and I guess they can hear them when they're trying to work.
Yes.
That can get
that's-
frustrating, I
them
suppose.
came to me. Yes, they being on phone calls for work and stuff. It didn't go over too well apparently.
Thanks, Counselor Evans, for lifting that up.
One of them apparently has pictures of the chickens. Just passing it along.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, well, I have a couple of comments. I will say. So the Tri-County Chamber of Commerce, they've got a networking breakfast on Wednesday. And they're doing a city manager / city administrator roundtable panel. So I'll be in TJ's seat for that. So when it comes to Blue Stars and listen to me talk to city manager from Harrisburg and the interim man city manager in Junction City, I'll be there. I think it starts at 7:15 a.m.
That's the one in Junction.
I think it's only Junction. And I think the only other thing I wanted to mention was the first responders. I've got flyers and they're in my truck. I just need everything. Big ball.
I have one more thing.
Okay, cool.
I went to log in to register for the LOC training on Friday. Meeting.
The meeting, yeah, the district meeting, yes.
I'm gonna have to call Heather because I believe it's all through my city email, so I cannot get to it.
Yeah, definitely call everybody.
And is there a fee for that?
I don't think there's a fee for that.
No, there's no fee for that. And Counselor Evans, I'll go ahead and if it's helpful, I can go ahead and just connect you with Heather and your personal email really quickly via email if you'd like, unless you already have everything you need. Happy to try to assist if you would like assistance with that.
I appreciate that, but Dawn gave me her phone.
Perfect. Good,
number, so I
good,
can
good.
call her. I just wanted to update you and your sheets as well.
Thank you.
Well, that was the thing I forgot to mention. This Friday, we've got the League of Oregon Cities District 4. That was the very District 4 District 5. So that'll have, you'll see mayors and city councilors from the city district. And they'll be here and we'll be meeting up and networking and having lunch and talking about things that we are trying to get accomplished and sharing our experiences. So you're all welcome to come. Is it not that? Correct. Okay, if there's nothing else. I motion to conclude and adjourn this meeting. Have a lovely. Thank you all.
Right.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Economic development. Sweet.